And we're coming right back to you to take you live to Beirut, where U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein is speaking after meeting with Lebanon's Parliament Speaker, Nabih Berri.
What will be the next steps, given that there's an administration coming into Washington right now?
So I know this will be disappointing to a lot of people here, but I'm not going to negotiate this in public. So I'm not going to go into what the issues are. I was here, we discussed it here as planned. If we made progress, I would go to Israel and make those additional discussions there based on the conversations here and see what we can do. Look, there is one president at a time. We're going to work with the incoming administration. We are already going to be discussing this with them. They will be fully aware of everything that we're doing. As President Biden said, there will be an orderly transfer of power, and I don't think that will be an issue here.
Okay, that was unexpectedly short. Let's give you the context around this. U.S. Envoy Amos Hochstein has been in Lebanon for the last few days. As you heard him say, he's going to Israel next. Why? Well, he's been in the region to try and negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. So as we understand it, they're not speaking directly, but they are speaking through intermediaries. The U.S. had proposed a ceasefire. The U.S. proposing a ceasefire, which it submitted to Hezbollah via the Lebanese Speaker of Parliament, Nabih Berri. So as you can see, there are quite a few nodes in this system here. We were hoping to get a little bit more detail on what was being said on the content of the negotiations, and we got very little indeed. I'm seeing that our Lebanon correspondent, Zeina Khodr, is there. Zeina, you're joining us after what was, and I say this, from a purely journalistic standpoint, a disappointing press conference, because we found out really almost nothing.
Yes, he did not want to divulge any details about the discussions, the details that they have been talking about over the past 24 hours. This is the second time U.S. Envoy Amos Hochstein meets the Lebanon Speaker of Parliament, Nabih Berri, in the past 2 days. Nabih Berri, of course, is negotiating indirectly with Israel through the United States and on behalf of Hezbollah. So he's not giving us any details, but he did confirm that he would be heading to Israel for additional discussions. And he did say that if there was something to talk about, he would be heading to Israel. So this is the start of the process. This is, we were never under any illusion that a ceasefire deal was imminent. The United States, the outgoing administration, the outgoing Biden administration, handing in a draft ceasefire proposal last week. Lebanon and Hezbollah have been dealing with this proposal openly, with flexibility. This is what we understand from officials here. They had some concerns, and what we do know is that last night, in one way or another, they agreed to a U.S. role in enforcing UN Resolution 1701. And I can tell you that can be seen as a concession on the part of Lebanon and Hezbollah if indeed this is the case. But while Lebanese officials have been expressing cautious optimism over the past 24 hours, they did say that the ball is now in Israel's court. It's how Israel is going to respond. We know that Israel has been saying that they will not accept the situation, the status quo pre-October 7 to remain, really. They want a change. They want a new reality along the border. They want Hezbollah to pull back from the border, the Lebanese state to extend its authority along the border, but they also want an enforcement mechanism that they can trust. Now, a U.S. role, if indeed Lebanon accepted this, is likely to be accepted by Israel. But we also know that Israel wants the ability to act when it believes it is under threat from Hezbollah. So there's a lot of major sticking points, but there is no doubt there's some kind of progress, especially since, Lebanon is saying that they want to fully implement UN Resolution 1701, which will involve Hezbollah pulling back from the border, and a U.S. role in enforcing that resolution.
Zeina, as you were speaking, we saw a black, what I think was an American car, SUV with tinted windows pull out. So I wonder if that was Amos Hochstein behind you who was leaving. Can you tell us a little bit more? Can you describe what position Hezbollah is negotiating from? What I mean by that is, when two parties enter, whether a direct or indirect negotiation, they try to negotiate from a position of force. But Hezbollah, as you've explained to us, the Hezbollah of November 20th is not what it was 3 months ago in terms of strength and therefore negotiating position.
Well, yes, first of all, that was the U.S. envoy Hochstein leaving. That was his convoy parked behind us. As for Hezbollah, there is no doubt it has suffered serious setbacks in the past few weeks, losing its Secretary General, the successor as well, the political leadership, members of the Jihadi Council, the decision-making body, military commanders, whether top-ranking military commanders. They lost their defense minister, if you like, Fuad Shukr, in an assassination. Every single day, they are losing a member of the force. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I can hear the Israeli drone buzzing overhead, likely looking for a new target. And Hezbollah is acknowledging that it has suffered losses, but it says that its command and control structure is now intact and that they are fighting back. And there's no doubt they are fighting back. They're putting up resistance along the border. For the past few weeks, Israeli troops have been launching incursions into Lebanon. They have managed to reach up to 6 kilometers deep inside the country. But on other axes, they haven't been able to push a few meters. So for Hezbollah, they believe that their strength is on the battlefield, that the main negotiating front is in the battlefield, and that they can have leverage over the Israelis by making this a costly operation and by continuing to target northern Israel and central Israel and disrupting daily life for the Israelis. But there is no doubt, Hezbollah has suffered a lot of losses. And I think we need to just point out one more thing, and that is on Sunday, when Israel killed Hezbollah's media chief, the head of the media department, this was not just about silencing Hezbollah. This was a message that the political wing, that the political forces of Hezbollah could be next. So Israel really putting a lot of pressure on Hezbollah, and one of the biggest pressures is the fact that they keep on targeting areas where their supporters live and killing them and destroying their lives and their livelihoods.
I wonder, and there may not be a good answer or a clear answer to this at this point, but can you give us any kind of clarity on what might be Hezbollah's decision-making process? Who's involved in these conversations? Are Lebanese Hezbollah lawmakers involved in the decision-making process? Is Naim Qassem, the new head of Hezbollah, involved in the decision-making process? Are others outside of Lebanon involved in this process?
Well, yes, it's a very, very difficult question to answer, but there is no doubt. Hezbollah is a force that is supported by Iran. Since Israel launched war against Hezbollah, escalated the war, if you like, in mid-September, we've seen 3 high-ranking Iranian officials visit Lebanon, whether it's the foreign minister, the head of the Iranian parliament, and then an advisor to the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Hezbollah is an organization that does not shy away from its ties to Iran. The late Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah, who was assassinated by Israel on September the 27th, has openly said that they receive funding, help, money from Iran. So there is no doubt they will be coordinating their next steps, because this, Hezbollah is part of the so-called axis of resistance. They entered this war. They opened up a front against Israel to help their ally in Gaza. So this has become, in one way or another, a regional a regional conflict, whether the front comes from Gaza or Lebanon or even Iran. We've heard from the incoming administration, the Trump administration, set their sights on Iran as well. So yes, they will be coordinating and cooperating. Even in the past, we've heard Hezbollah leaders say that they talk to other members of the so-called resistance axis, whether from Iraq, Yemen, and all the attacks they launch against Israel is to help relieve pressure on Gaza. So yes, that would be the decision-making process. But at the end of the day, it is also a Lebanese movement, and they have to take into consideration when making decisions about the hundreds of thousands of people who live in areas where they have influence, their supporters, and they are in a very difficult position. They're living in schools and shelters. People are poor. They've lost their jobs. How long can they stay displaced? So this is a very different situation than in 2006, that last major war between Hezbollah and Israel. This time, Israel is going after anyone or anything affiliated with the group, even its financial networks, and it is also targeting the group in neighboring Syria, which Israel considers a logistical base for Hezbollah.
Yeah, Zeina, thank you very much for all of that. That's Al Jazeera's Zeina Khodr reporting from Beirut. In fact, just outside the house of the Lebanese parliamentary speaker, Nabih Berri, where we saw the U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein just a second ago. Thank you very much, Zeina. And so to recap, if you've been following us for the last 15 minutes, U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein gave a very, very brief statement. He's been in Beirut for a couple days negotiating or being part of negotiations between Hezbollah, indirect between Hezbollah and Israel. He said, we made progress, and now I'm going to Israel, and I will not negotiate this in public. So that's where we are on that.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.